Hey guys, it's Lazy Modding here, and we're going to be doing another tutorial today. We're going to be looking at how to add decals to whatever you kind of want to add decals to. In this case, I'm going to be adding farm logos to a truck. So stick around and we will get to it. First thing that you want to do once you get whatever you want to put your decal on is open your i3D. Now there's a lot of people out here that will just say create a plane, put your image in it, and voila, you're good to go. I try to do it a little bit different way as it works a little bit better in my opinion, and it at least looks a little bit better. So that's kind of what I'm going to do here today. Feel free to follow whatever tutorial you want to follow. I am just going to voice my way of how I do the decals. If that helps, then awesome. If it doesn't, then oh well. So I had to have this T600 here that is in Giants Editor right now. And what I'm going to do is, as you can see, I already have a decal on here, but I kind of want to remake it to um, a decal that's like this instead of the round one. And I want to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm basically just not going to mess with this decal on here. I'm actually just, once we get it done, it's just going to be deleted. Um, so basically I'm just going to actually hide that right now. So there's no decal on this. So what I want to do is try to put it as big as I can right here on the door. So driver's side is okay. The passenger side is where it gets a little tricky since we have this window here at the bottom that lets you look below the door. But yeah, so what you'll need for this is basically to have whatever image you have. It can be PNG or it can already be formatted to a DDS file. It doesn't really matter. You're going to need Giants Editor, of course, and you're going to need Blender. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on the body of this truck here. You can see it's highlighted over here in the body. I'm just going to go to File, and I'm going to hit Export Selection. And it's going to take me out to a file. I'm going to go work into my folder here, T600. We're going to go OBJ. So I like to make a folder that way so then I'm not clustering everything into one folder. So it's easy for me to just go back and have everything in one spot without having to delete extra stuff. So I'm going to double click OBJ here, and we're going to go in and just type T600 body. And then you're going to want to change your save as type. You have i3D files, binary i3D files, or wavefront OBJ. And we're going to be we need to export or import this into Blender. So we need to be able to use our OBJ format. So that's what we're going to select here. Just make sure it should be like whatever your name of your mesh was, and then .obj. So I'm going to hit save, and it's going to do its thing. You'll see down here on the console that it saved it. So I'm going to go in here now, and I've already did this on one truck. So pardon it being up here. I'll just create a new collection here, and we'll name this T600. So, and I'm just I'll use different materials and everything. So once you have your Blender file open, you'll go to File, and you want to go to Import, and you can go to OBJ or wavefront.obj, and then we're going to go back and find our T600 folder. So here it is. So then we're going to go OBJ. Then we're going to click the T600 body.obj. If you have your export set right, it should work right. Sometimes they don't, but I'm sure there's plenty of videos on that out there already. So now we have the mesh that's inside of Blender here. It doesn't have any colors on it, and that's okay. We're not going to be editing this mesh and having to export this back out. What we are going to be doing is just adding basically a pane to the doors that allows us to put our logo on it. So that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to here and just look at it, make sure everything's normal, yada, yada, yada. Everything looks good, besides it being high poly, but it is what it is. So now we have this done. I'm just going to actually switch modes so it's not so bright. And then I'm going to go to, you can go either add or you can hit Control A or Shift A and go mesh and hit paint plane. So now we have a plane out here. I already changed my units to feet. If you want to change your units to feet, it's right over here. So I think on the other one I went 2 feet. I think I'll be able to tell rather quickly. Yeah, I went 2 feet. I think. Yeah, I went 2. Okay. So I went down and narrowed this down to 6 or 2 feet here. And I'm also gonna go and hit apply rotation and scale. That way, so then you're always working with a rotate or a plane that's at 0 degrees rotation, and the scale is always at 1. It makes it a little bit easier, and you're less likely to run into issues. So as you can see right now, our plane is laying flat on the ground. We need to tilt it up. And so that's going to rotate on the y-axis. So we're going to go at 90, rotate it 90 degrees. Voila, boom, awesome. I'm going to go and activate kind of our x-ray mode. You can do that by hitting Alt-C, or you can click this window button icon thing up here. This is your best friend if you're always trying to overlap meshes and stuff. So, but yeah. So this door is a little bit different than the other one was. I kind of want, the goal of the logo is to be able to get it between where the window is on the passenger side and the top of, or the bottom of this window. So I want it to fit in there pretty good. And you can always edit the UV, which I'll kind of show you guys how to do as well after this. So now that that's pretty much lined up to exactly where we want it, I'm going to move it back a little bit closer to the mesh. We get out of x-ray mode, and again, we got this mesh out here just chilling. So I'm going to select the cab mesh of itself. I'm going to hit tab to go into edit mode. So now we are in edit mode, and you can see the faces of this. So the next thing we're going to want to do is to select our plane that we created as an outline. So to do that, you go Control and you click on it. You can't just click on it. You have to hit Control and left mouse click onto the object that you're wanting to do this with. So now that we have that done, we're going to use what we call knife project. So we're going to go to mesh. We're going to go to knife project right here. And we're just going to click that. And as you can see, it basically takes the mesh that we selected here and like projects it onto the mesh that we're trying to work with here. So as you can see, I mean, it's not perfect by any means. You have to be like in relative access to the way you want to project it. So, okay, I'm trying to figure out what is going on here. Interesting. Okay. So like in this case, I wanted to be along with the x-axis, so it would project along the x-axis onto the door. So now that you have that done, I'm just gonna go in here and we're gonna hide this pane real quick. So now that we kind of have our mesh cut here, and I've already hit the other plane, we do have kind of this face here that's being a little wonky on us. That's, and it's not that big of a deal in all sense, because I mean, really all the faces we need are these right through here. And it's not going to hurt anything having that. It just adds another face to a spot where we don't really need it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and switch over to vertice mode, and we're going to go and select knife project. Not knife project. Don't get those mixed up. The knife is nice, but it gets to be a little tricky at times. So it's hard to get a perfect square with the knife, unfortunately. So then we're just going to go up here and do that. That should cut across that face to where now it's not including that corner. So then we can highlight all this, and this will be what we will use for our decal face. And so yeah. So now we have the driver's side done. Now we need to do the passenger side. So I've brought the plane back up. I'm going to hit rotation scale again, and we're going to bring it back over here. So now remember, this is a plane, so it's only technically have one face direction on it. So I don't know if it truly matters or not, but what I generally do is try to have the blue facing the same way as the blue that I'm cutting on. So what I need to do is rotate it 180 degrees on the x-axis, which is the up and down axis. As you can see now, the blue is facing the same way as the door is. So you can find the blue and the red colors by going to your like viewport displays and then hitting face orientation. So now that we have that done, I'm going to hit Control A again to set rotation and scale. So now we have the face, and notice I didn't move it up, down, to the side or anything. I just moved it over. So we'll project onto this face instead of that face now. So that way then the middle point of where we're trying to cut will be the same on the two doors. And that will allow us to be able to get everything lined up a little bit easier to make the decals line up. So now we have this done. We're going to go and do the same thing we just did again. So hit the cab, and then we're going to tab out of that, and then we're going to hit Control, and we're going to click on the plane there. You have to be careful. Sometimes if you like try to hit your Control and click in this panel, it will sometimes click the back. So you must have to kind of go to where there's nothing behind the panel and click it. That's just something I've noticed. But yeah, now that we have that, we're going to go and view from our negative X way now, because we're on the other side of the truck. Then we're going to go to mesh. I'm going to go knife project. And it gives us pretty clean projection here. I mean, like I said, we still kind of have a issue there, but like I said, we'll fix that with the knife tool as we did earlier. So I'm just going to hide that. So what we need to do now is cut a line between here to get this. So I'm going to go back to my knife tool. I'm going to go in line with the negative x-axis again. Select that point, and we're just going to take the knife tool up to that point. Well, maybe. Okay, it's going to be a pain in the butt. Okay. So. All right. So what we're going to do now is not a way that I generally want to do this, but hey, we're going to do it anyway. So we have this face that's not really working very well for us. So I'm going to actually just delete the face. We're going to go back into our vertice mode. We're going to select this vertice here, and we're going to take it to this vertice. We're going to hit F. It's going to give us a line that kind of goes across there. And then you can kind of go and select your border lines. Make sure you're in like proper vertice mode here. Select that line, and then we'll select this line, and we'll select this line. Then you can have F again, and it will give you that window there. And then just for good measure, we'll do the same thing here to cover this hole up. So, well, that was weird. Assign. I have no clue what the heck just happened there. Anyway, don't really matter. We're not using that panel or that area anyway. So now we got this side done. We can go and kind of highlight that area, and we're going to highlight these two right there. So that's pretty close to the same thing of what we're using on this side. Of course, we kind of have the window here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually duplicate and then separate the selected faces here. So to duplicate, you can do Control D and it will double them. And then to separate, you can go hit P, and then you can separate by either selection, material, or loose parts. And I'm going to be using selection just because I already have the faces selected. So whenever you do that, it basically will create a new mesh with the faces that you had selected. We're going to go on this side, and we're going to do the same thing. Make sure all the faces that we want are selected. And then we're going to hit Control D. And we're going to hit P for the selection. Voila, now we have two individual deals here. So now we have that done. I'm actually just gonna join these together so they're together. So I hit Control J and it creates one mesh. And I'm gonna go, we're gonna start with the white decal. So I'll name this white decal T600. So we don't have any issues with the naming. And then as you can see, when you import the mesh in from Giants Editor, generally it's off by like 90 degrees. So I just hit Control A to set the scale of those. So whenever we're having to UV map them and stuff, it doesn't change a whole lot. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a new material to assign to the panels here. And we're going to go, so add a material, go white, add, and we're going to do T600 white decal. So now we have that done. We don't need that material, so you can go and hit the minus there. Now that we have that done, we need to assign a image texture to our new material that we did. So if you go over to shading, it looks stupidly complicated, but we're doing one thing and one thing only. So we're going to go search image texture from the add node, which is right here. And then you can type in image texture and just do it right there. We're going to take this color and drag it to the base color, open, and then we'll go here and we're going to add our white decal here. Can't really see it very well, unfortunately, in here. And most of that has to do with the fact that it's just not mapped yet. So what we're going to do is, now that we have it all mapped out, we're going to go in, or added our material. What we're going to do now is we're going to duplicate the UV map. That way, so then if you have dirt and stuff, you can add the dirt maps. I've been having a couple issues with this, so I don't know if it works how it used to or not anymore. But what I do is I just duplicate the UV map that's here. Don't just duplicate it, leave this bottom one alone. The top one is the one that you'll be working with your decals. So now we have that done. Now we're going to go and UV map our panels here. So I just try to get at a different angle so I don't accidentally select anything over there. And then we're going to go to UV, and then we're going to hit unwrap. And that does a pretty good job of exactly where I want to put that. I am surprised. Most of the time it takes a little bit of coursing to get it to look that good. But yeah, so now we have that UV mapped. We're going to do the same thing to this side. I doubt this side goes as easy, unfortunately. So I'm going to select all that and we're going to go to UV, UV unwrap. Actually, that nailed it pretty good. So it's a little bit smaller than I kind of want it to be, but I think it looks good for the size of the truck. So, yeah, so it's a lot better than what we had on it previously. So now we have that done. So the next thing I want to do is we're going to go and basically shrink wrap these to the door. So what I do is I just highlight one side at a time. I'll switch back to layout mode here. I'll highlight one side at a time, and we're just going to pull it out just a wee bit here. Just enough to get it off of the frame of the door. Do the same on the other side. You don't have to take it out very far, just enough to get it off the door. So now we have that pulled off, we're going to add a modifier. So we're going to go to our little tool wrench here, add modifier, and we're going to look for shrink wrap. So now that we have shrink wrap pulled up, we're going to hit our target. We're going to select this truck. And now you can see that it's kind of like overlapping weirdly, giving us some issues. So what I do is I'll just go 0.001, and it will basically bring it to where it's just barely off the surface, but you won't have like a glitching effect happening. So it will truly be on the outside surface, but it will be right up next to it that you won't have any weird gaps or anything going about it. And this also works good if like your surface isn't perfectly flat. Like if you're just taking a normal plane and wrapping it around something, the shrink wrap works really good. I just do it here just to try to get it to fit a little bit better. I know it will because we literally use the door as our decal mesh, but it works pretty good just to make sure that, you know, everything's wrapped how it should and stuff. So now we have that done. That is our white decals that are done, we're going to hit apply on this modifier, and boom, our white decals are done. Now, due to the color changes, I'm going to actually add a set of black decals as well. And I'll kind of show you that in case you're wanting to add a couple different decals at the same time. And this way it makes it pretty easy to be able to replace it and do it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to duplicate this mesh here. We're just going to go rename it back to black decal T600. Sorry, that side of the screen's really far away from me actually. Whoops, that's not what I meant to put. Black decal T600. Okay, so now we have that done. What we're going to do is change our white lettering over to our black lettering logo. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go and create a new material. We'll go T600 black decal. So now we have that added. I'm just going to go and remove our first material there. And I'm just going to hide our one decals we were working on so we can see what we're doing with our black decals here. So I'm going to go back to shading here, go add node, image, texture, add your color, your base color, and just go select wherever your decals are and move them around. So I need to go look for them again. So we're going to go black this time. So you can see it's a little bit different than what we had on there previously, but that's basically all you have to do, because if the image is the same size, it's going to display in the same exact format, which mine are. They are, both of them are 1024 by 1024. So that's basically done. That's simple as that to be able to do that and to change them. If you have a different shape logo, you might have to kind of UV map it to get it to look a little bit better, but mine lined up pretty well. So, but yeah, so now that we have our black decal and our white decals done, we're going to select them both. And it's just easier to do it with this exporter, the community exporter. So if you go select both of them, go file, export, i3D, and then we're going to go into this T600 and we're going to go to make a new folder and we're going to call it exported i3D. So if I do any additional work to this truck, I can just export it into this folder so we're not overlapping in the main folder. So, and I'm just going to name this decals, and then we're going to hit export i3D, and boom, it's going to export it out. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into our i3D here, and we're just going to select away from the truck. We'll go to file, we'll go to import, and we'll go back out here. We'll find our, and then we'll hit our decals. So now we imported those in, boom, our decals are showing up all nice and pretty on the side of the truck here. As you see, there's like no overlap of the black and the white. They are perfectly aligned. So you'll see whichever one is later on. So one tip that I do recommend doing is if you have multiple decals, just make a transform group that's called decals. And then just put all of your decals in it and move it to generally whatever transform group. Where did that go? Whatever transform group has the surface on it. So in this case, we're trying to put it onto the body. So I put it in the same transform group of the truck. So it's on the same surface there. So now that we have that done, we'll work on the black one first. So we have that here. I'm actually gonna hide the front. This one. So black decal, I'm gonna just take the clip distance down to 300 so it's not visible forever and ever. And then I'm gonna actually go and add a gloss map. Open this up. I have no clue what the gloss map the body is using here. So it looks like it is using body.tds as its gloss map. So basically the reason why I'm adding a gloss map is if the dirt does work right, I will be able to have the dirt onto the decal is the reason I am trying to add it. So, it doesn't look really perfect right now. That's just due to how it's UV mapped. But if you go down here and to add a custom shader, you go down to vehicle shader, and then you go down and you find decal. Like I said, sometimes the dirt works, sometimes it doesn't anymore. It doesn't bother me that much. So I try to keep my stuff clean anyway. So now that that one's done, one thing you'll want to do is add shadows to it so it doesn't look weird. So you're going to want to add receive shadows. Now, I highly recommend not to hit cast shadows. And that's due to the fact that if your decal is a little bit farther off of the mesh, it will add a shadow behind the decal onto your mesh. So if you just don't hit the cast shadow, it won't do those shadows. So it looks a little bit more realistic if you just hit receive shadows. So it just works better in my opinion. So yeah, that's kind of how you do that. And we're going to do the white one here real quick. Like I said, sometimes the dirt works, sometimes it doesn't. It just seems to be kind of luck of the draw. Used to, it worked all the time. I don't know. I'm sure I probably did something. I'm not used to editing the decals I put on stuff. So we'll go body. That's one thing we need to do is, so right now we have this in our exported i3D textures folder instead of the folder that will actually be packed with the truck. So we need to go and do that. So what we're going to do is I already have this this changed into DDS format. So I'm just going to go and select those two DDS files. We're going to hit Control C to copy. I'm going to go and put them in this textures folder here. I already have our two other ones in here that I won't use after this anymore. So then we're just going to remap our albedo map to our new texture spot. So then you're going to want to go, oh shit, we just show quicker, to your file, FS22 Kenworth T600 straight truck. I'm going to go to textures. And then this is, I believe this is the white decal. So we'll hit the white one and it will import it as our DDS file. So the Giants game doesn't yell at you for not doing it right. And then while we're at it, I'm going to do the same thing, this black one real quick. So I think the size is the same. I don't know exactly why they want separate, but hey, we'll just give it to it. So anyway, that is that. But yeah, so that's pretty much how you do it. I said just go through and make sure you get everything checked and right. Your shadows don't let your things look weird if you don't put shadows on them, because it definitely will look weird. So yeah, like I said, just weird things with some spec maps apparently. So because the UV map is directly coming from that, so it should work. But oh well. If you find a tutorial that it works, feel free to watch that one. Change the clip distance down to 300. Shape, and we're gonna hit receive shadow map. Voila. So that truck's pretty much done. It's got the new logos on it. What you can do is, now that you have that done, you can go in to your XML and edit this to change it up a little bit. So in this case, I had the decal on it previously, designed 2 configs. So what I'm gonna do is just make go here and copy this object change line and do that. And then we're gonna do this, just copy it here. And we're gonna need to make a third one in here. That way, so then there's 3 options. So then we'll go black decal. We'll go white decal. And I just have it $25. It seems fairly realistic at 25. So now what I'll do is I'll just kind of go here and kind of place this window kind of in the middle here. Maybe here. The engine doesn't like to work with the multi windows here. So we'll move that here. This will work just fine for what we need to do. So now we're going to be looking for our index path. So if you select on your decals, you can go up here to index path. I'll have a number. You can hit Control C to copy it. I'm going to put black as our first one. So I'm just going to go down the line here and just go put that and that. And then do the same thing with the white one here. Control C. Put that into all this. Excuse me. And then we'll go, and so this is our white decal, so this needs to be true here. This will be false. Black is first, so black will be visible, white will not be, and new decal, everything will be false. So let's hit save on that. Make sure you save Giant's editor. You can hit Control S or hit the save button, and voila, it's saved. So hopefully this works for you guys. Hopefully you guys learned something. It is kind of a longer video, but I didn't really want to cut anything out of it. So I do appreciate you guys watching. If this did help, please do hit that like and subscribe button. It does mean a lot. And we'll catch y'all next time. Have a good one.